Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. I had a very nice conversation today over the Skype with my dear friend Shivaram Maharaj, who we were very, very close for many, many years, and then destiny kind of brought us apart. And but today we talked. He has COVID, and he's a little over 70. He's a little younger than me, maybe three years or something. And he has a tendency towards bronchial problems, so it makes him a high risk. So I wrote to him, and anyway, he's getting better, but he told me that he's spending a lot of time reading Caitanya-caritämrta, and it awakened all the memories of the times when we were together over the years, reading Caitanya-caritämrta on the bank of the Ganga, or on the roofs of the places we're staying in India, or in Vrindavan, or in Govardhan. And so we shared a moment of bliss as I explained to him how we're reading Caitanya-caritämrta now, and we're feeling the same relief. So here we are together again. The world is plummeting into the winter time, in the middle of a pandemic surge, and so much uncertainty, so much anxiety, so much fear. And yet, when we're with Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Caitanya-caritämrta, it all goes away. Hare Krishna. Let us pray that we can someday do this 24/7. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was very attached also to the Caitanya-caritämrta, as was our dear Srila Prabhupada. And he had this to say: in due course, Maha-pralaya, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam, but under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. For if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage, because after the flood has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So here we are, right in the middle of one of the most nectarian sections of the Caitanya-caritämrta, Lord Chaitanya's instructions on devotional service to Srila Sanatana Goswami, his senior disciple and older brother of Rupa Goswami. We're beginning with text. We're in text chapter 22, and we're beginning with text 140. When one actually becomes rich, he naturally enjoys all kinds of happiness. when one is actually in a happy mood, all distressful conditions go away by themselves. No extraneous endeavor is needed. 141. Similarly, as a result of bhakti, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens. When one is so situated that he can taste the association of Lord Krishna, material existence, the repetition of birth and death, comes to an end.
Confusing. 140 here, but it says it different verses. I'm wondering.
Oh, I'm in chapter 20. I'm sorry, kids. I just went to chapter 20 instead of chapter 22. But luckily, we were saved by our fact checker over here. Yes, I went to the wrong chapter. Sorry. I thought it sounded strange. Okay. Yes. Text 140, chapter 22. If a person gives up all material desires and completely engages in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, notice it's wherever we take, it's like sugar, it's sweet everywhere, and this is almost the same as what we just said from the chapter 20. If a person gives up all material desires and completely engages in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, as enjoined in the revealed scriptures, he is never indebted to the demigods, sages, or forefathers. Purport. After birth, every man is indebted in so many ways. He is indebted to the demigods for their supplying necessities like air, light, and water. When one takes advantage of the Vedic literatures, one becomes indebted to great sages like Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala, and Asita. When one takes birth in a particular family, he becomes indebted to his forefathers. We are even indebted to common living entities like cows, from whom we take milk. Because we accept service from so many animals, we become indebted. However, if one is completely engaged in the Lord's devotional service, he is absolved of all debts. This is confirmed in the following verse, quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.41, text 141. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pratinam nakinkarot nayanam rini narajan sarvatmana yak sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihrityakartam. One who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away. Purport. It is said, Adyatpanam brahmayagyai pitriyagyais tutarpanam homo daiva balir bhauta nriyagyo titipujanam. By offering oblations with ghee, one satisfies the demigods. By studying the Vedas, one performs brahmayagya, which satisfies the great sages. By offering oblations of water before one's forefathers, one performs pitriyagya. By offering tribute, one performs bhuta yagya. But by properly receiving guests, one performs Nri Yagya. These are the 5 yagyas that liquidate the 5 kinds of indebtedness. Indebtedness to the demigods, great sages, forefathers, living entities, and common men. Therefore, one has to perform these 5 kinds of yagyas. But when one takes to the Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, one does not have to perform any other yagya. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni made a statement about the systematic performance of Bhagavat Dharma in connection with statements previously made by the 9 Yogendras before Maharaj Nimi. The sage Karabhajan Rishi explained the 4 incarnations of the 4 yugas, and at the end, in this verse, text 141, he explained the position of Krishna's pure devotee and how he is absolved of all debts. 142. Although the pure devotee does not follow all the regulative principles of Varnashram, he worships the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, he naturally has no tendency to commit sin. Purport. The Varnashram institution is planned in such a way that one will not commit sinful activities. Material existence continues due to sinful activity. When one acts sinfully in this life, he gets a suitable body for the next life. When one again acts sinfully, he takes on another material body. In this way, one is continuously under the influence of material nature. Purushat prakritisto hi bhunkte prakritijan gunan karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. Due to our association with the modes of material nature, we get different types of bodies, good and bad. One cannot be liberated from the cycle of birth and death, known as transmigration of the soul, unless one is completely freed from all sinful activities. The best process, therefore, is to take to Krishna consciousness. One cannot take to Krishna consciousness without being freed from all sinful activities. Naturally, one who is very serious about Krishna consciousness is freed from all sinful activity. Consequently, a devotee is never inclined to commit sins. If one is pressured by the law or obligations to give up sinful activity, one cannot do so. However, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, he can very easily give up all sinful activity. This is confirmed herein. 143. If, however, a devotee accidentally becomes involved in a sinful activity, Krishna purifies him. He does not have to undergo the regulative form of atonement. Purport. Krishna purifies from within as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within the heart. This is described in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.42. Swapada mulam bhajatak priyasya Caitanya-bhavasya hari pareshaha vikarma yach chotpititam katanchit dunoti sarvam vidisannivishtaha. One who has given up everything and taken shelter of the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to Krishna. If he is involved in some sinful activity by accident, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, removes his sins without difficulty. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Text 145. The path, excuse me. The path of speculative knowledge and renunciation is not essential for devotional service. Indeed, good qualities such as nonviolence and control of the mind and senses automatically accompany a devotee of the Lord. Purport. Sometimes a neophyte devotee or ordinary person thinks highly of speculative knowledge, austerity, penances, and renunciation, thinking them the only path for advancement in devotional service. Actually, this is not a fact. The path of knowledge, mystic yoga, and renunciation has nothing to do with the pure soul. When one is temporarily in the material world, such processes may help a little, but they are not necessary for a pure devotee of Krishna. In the material world, such activities end in material enjoyment or merging into the effulgence of the Supreme. They have nothing to do with the eternal loving service of the Lord. If one abandons speculative knowledge and simply engages in devotional service, he has attained his perfection. The devotee has no need for speculative knowledge, pious activity, or mystic yoga. All these are automatically present when one renders the Lord transcendental loving service. Text 146. Tasman mad bhakti yuktasya yogino vai madatmanaha na jnanam na chavairagyam prayak shreyo bhavediha. For one who is fully engaged in my devotional service, whose mind is fixed on me in bhakti yoga, neither the path of speculative knowledge nor that of dry renunciation is very beneficial. Purport. The path of devotional service is always independent of other activity. The path of speculative knowledge or of mystic yoga may be a little beneficial in the beginning, but neither can be considered part of devotional service. This verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-31, was spoken by Lord Krishna when he was speaking to Uddhava before his departure from this material world. These are important instructions given directly by Lord Krishna. Sri Uddhava asked the Lord about the two kinds of instructions given in the Vedas. One instruction is called Pravritti Marg, and the other is called Nivritti Marg. These are directions for enjoying the material world according to regulated principles, and then giving up the material world for higher spiritual understanding. Sometimes one does not know whether to practice speculative knowledge and mystic yoga for advancement in spiritual life. Krishna explains to Uddhava that the mechanical processes of speculative knowledge and mystic yoga are not necessary for advancing in devotional service. Devotional service is completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with material things. It is awakened by hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. Shall I read that again? Would it be okay? Okay. Oh, all right. Devotional service is completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with material things. It is awakened by hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. Sadhusanga ki jai. Because devotional service is always transcendental, it has nothing to do with material activity. 147. O hunter, good qualities like non-violence, which you have developed, are not very astonishing, for those who are engaged in the Lord's devotional service are never inclined to give pain to others because of envy. Purport. This is a quotation from the Skanda Purana. It was spoken by Narada Muni to the reformed hunter, Mrigrari. 148. My dear Sanatan, I have now in detail described devotional service according to the regulative principles. Now, hear from me about spontaneous devotional service and its characteristics. 149. The original inhabitants of Vrindavan are attached to Krishna spontaneously in devotional service. Nothing can compare to such spontaneous devotional service, which is called ragatmika bhakti. When a devotee follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan, his devotional service is called raganuga bhakti. Purport. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami states, then there's a long prose, Sanskrit prose, which I will skip. But the gist of it is, when a pure devotee follows the footsteps of a devotee in Vrindavan, he develops Raganuga Bhakti. 150. When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to one's natural inclination to love Him, and is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord, that state is called transcendental attachment. And devotional service, according to that attachment, is called ragatmika, or spontaneous devotional service. Purport. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 272. Text 151. The primary characteristic of spontaneous love is deep attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Absorption in thought of Him is a marginal characteristic. 152. Thus, devotional service, which consists of raga, deep attachment, is called ragatmika, spontaneous loving service. If a devotee covets such a position, he is considered to be most fortunate. Text 153. If one follows in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, out of such transcendental covetousness, he does not care for the injunctions of reasonings of Shastra. That is the way of spontaneous love. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that a devotee is attracted by the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, namely the cowherd men, Maharaj Nanda, Madhya-lila, Radharani, the gopis, and the cows and calves. An advanced devotee is attracted by the service rendered by an eternal servitor of the Lord. This attraction is called spontaneous attraction. Technically, it is called Sarupa Upalabdhi. This stage is not achieved in the beginning. In the beginning, one has to render service strictly according to the regulative principles set forth by the revealed scriptures and the spiritual master. By continuously rendering service through the process of Vaidhi Bhakti, one's natural inclination is gradually awakened. That is called spontaneous attraction or Raganuga Bhakti. An advanced devotee situated on the platform of spontaneity is already very expert in Shastric instruction, logic, and argument. When he comes to the point of eternal love for Krishna, no one can deviate him from that position, neither by argument nor by Shastric evidence. An advanced devotee has realized his eternal relationship with the Lord, and consequently he does not accept the logic and arguments of others. Such an advanced devotee has nothing to do with the sahajas, who manufacture their own way and commit sins by indulging in illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling, if not meat-eating. Sometimes the sahajas imitate advanced devotees and live in their own whimsical way, avoiding the principles set down in the revealed scriptures. Unless one follows the 6 Goswamis, Sri Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Sri Jiva Gopal Bhatta, and Raghunath Das, one cannot be a bona fide spontaneous lover of Krishna. In this connection, Sri Narottam Das Thakur says, Rupa Raghunatha Pari Hoibe Akuti, Kabe Hama Bujapa Se Yugala Priditi. The Sahaja's understanding of the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna is not bona fide because they do not follow the principles laid down by the 6 Goswamis. Their illicit connection and their imitation of the dress of Rupa Goswami, as well as their avoidance of the prescribed methods of revealed scriptures, will lead them to the lowest regions of hell. These imitative sahajas are cheated and unfortunate. They are not equal to advanced devotees, paramahamsas. Debauchees and paramahamsas are not on the same level. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, saving us always from misfortune and making our lives fortunate. Text 154. Devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving service. Purport. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 270. Text 155. When an advanced, realized devotee hears about the affairs of the devotees of Vrindavan, in the mellows of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, he becomes inclined in one of these ways, and his intelligence becomes attracted. Indeed, he begins to covet that particular type of devotion. When such covetousness is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instructions of Shastra, revealed scripture, or on logic or an argument. Purport. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 292, 156 and 157. One executes this Raganuga Bhakti in 2 ways, external and internal. When self-realized, the advanced devotee externally remains like a neophyte and executes all the Shastric injunctions, especially those concerning hearing and chanting. But within his mind, in his original purified self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavan in his particular way. He serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. 158. Seva sadhaka rupena siddharupena chatrahi tad bhava lipsuna karya vrajaloka nusarataha. The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. He should execute service externally as a regulated devotee, as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service, both externally and internally. Purport: this verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 295. Text 159. Actually, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are very dear to Krishna. If one wants to engage in spontaneous loving service, he must follow an inhabitant of Vrindavan and constantly engage in devotional service within the mind. Text 160. Krishnam smaram janam chasya preshtam nija samihitam tat kataratas chasau kuryad vasam vrajay sada. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. Purport: this verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 294. Text 161. Krishna has many types of devotees. Some are servants, some are friends, some are parents, and some are conjugal lovers. Devotees who are situated in one of these attitudes of spontaneous love, according to their choice, are considered to be on the path of spontaneous loving service. Text 162. O my dear mother, Devahuti, O emblem of peace, my weapon, the disc of time, never vanquishes those for whom I am very dear, for whom I am the supersoul, son, friend, spiritual master, well-wisher, worshipable deity, and desired goal. Since the devotees are always attached to me, they are never vanquished by the agents of time. Purport: this was spoken by Kapila Dev to his mother Devahuti and is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25-38. Kapila Dev instructed his mother in Sankhya Yoga, but the importance of Bhakti Yoga is mentioned here. Later, Sankhya Yoga was imitated by atheists whose system was found by a different Kapila Dev, Rishi Kapila Dev. Text 163. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again to those who always eagerly meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a husband, son, friend, brother, father, or intimate friend. Purport: this verse appears in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2, 308. 164. If one engages in spontaneous loving service to the Lord, his affection for the lotus feet of Krishna gradually increases. 165. In the seed of affection, there is attachment which goes by two names, Rati and Bhava. The Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the control of such attachment. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on this verse. Externally, a devotee performs all the items of devotional service in 9 different ways, beginning with Shravana and Kirtana. And within his mind, he always thinks of his eternal relationship with Krishna and follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan. If one engages himself in the service of Radha and Krishna in this way, he can transcend the regulated principles enjoined in the Shastras and, through his spiritual master, fully engage in rendering spontaneous love to Krishna. In this way, he attains affection at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna actually comes under the control of such spontaneous feelings, and ultimately one can attain association with the Lord. Text 166. That by which one can attain loving service to the Lord, I have described in detail as the execution of devotional service called Abhideya. 167. My dear Sanatan, I have briefly described the process of devotional service in practice, but which is the means for attaining love of Krishna. It cannot be described broadly. 168. Whoever hears this description of the process of practical devotional service very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. 169. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padiyara Ash Caitanya-caritämrta Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Caitanya-caritämrta following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, Madhya-lila, 22nd chapter, describing the execution of devotional service. Srila Sanatana Goswami ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. The wonderful teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami ki jai. The execution of pure devotional service ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. The last verse, I've got to read it again. Abhideya sadhana bhakti shuni ye jana achirat phaya se Krishna premadam. Whoever hears this description of the process of practical devotional service very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. So we'll end our reading tonight with that wonderful conclusion of the 22nd chapter of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, Madhya-lila, the process of devotional service. Okay, any reflections, comments, discussions?
We have something here from Doyle Nitai.
Dal Nitai.
Yes.
Haribol Dal Nitai ki jai.
He says, Dear Srila Guru Maharaj, please accept my obeisance. In last night's reading, as one of the items of devotional service was mentioned, writing sacred names on one's body. I understand that traditionally that is done with tilak and stamps. My inquiry is about whether contemporary permanent tattoos of the Lord's names on one's body would be acceptable in regards to the above-mentioned item of bhakti. thank you, your servant Nitai Das.
I don't see why not. In the another system, another Vaishnava system is to brand it. Did you know that? Yeah, the same thing that we do with tilak. In some other Vaishnava sects in South India, they actually brand, the name or the symbol into the body. Luckily, we met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But yeah, I can't, based on that principle, I can't see why it would be offensive or unacceptable. But still, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings is to put the tilak markings on the body, I think that's sufficient for us. This is what Srila Prabhupada gave us. I mean, that's just a personal thing for me. I just can't stand tattoos, I can't go in anywhere and look at anyone because everyone's got tattoos nowadays. I don't have one in my body. It seems like it's anyway, Hare Krishna. That's my personal feeling. That's not to be taken as an absolute. My son got a big tattoo of Lord Nrsimhadev right here on his chest, where the heart is. Of course, that's not the same as doing the marks of the... Anyway, Hare Krishna. I wouldn't want to put tattoos of tilak on my body and then not put on tilak every day. That would be a misuse. Krishna and Radharani would paint on each other's bodies different things. Krishna would paint dolphins and all kinds of things, flowers, and you'll see in our deity worship and our movements sometimes the deities have wonderfully decorative patterns on the Lord's body. So the conclusion is, just go back to Goloka Vrindavan and then it's all there. Done in a way that there's no, is it right or wrong? I mean, my opinion about that would be, unless you know, in the process of devotional service, during the process of advancing in devotional service, your intuition or your conscience or Krishna from within your heart, tells you what to do, right or wrong. That's why eventually you don't need to follow all the rules and regulations. You follow them spontaneously and naturally. It's not that you don't follow them, but you don't need to be told by scripture to do this or that. You know already. And in Goloka Vrindavan, everybody is fully enlightened. They know what to do all the time, moment to moment. Therefore, the conclusion is that the goal is to go back home, back to Godhead, and associate with Krishna and all of his eternal associates who know exactly how to please Krishna on all levels. So if we're just chanting and dancing in order to have a good time, like in a disco, and not meditating on the Lord and, yes, developing in devotional service, then it's good. It's not bad, it's good, but it'll take a long time. Hare Krishna.
Something here from Bhakta Ben.
Haribol Bhakta Ben. I hope the marathon's going good.
He says, thank you so much for these readings, Maharaj. I love where it is said that by surrendering to Krishna, all sinful reactions are wiped out. It's such a simple fix to such a complicated material mess.
Yes.
I really appreciate your answering my questions and comments. I've been meditating on the Bible verse you quoted a few days ago. Not my will, but your will be done. It's really helped me in surrendering my attachment to the result. Thank you. Thank you. P.S. Still on my way back from a blissful day of telling people about Krishna. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, that is oneness. That is actually what oneness means. The impersonalist speculators, they interpret this concept of oneness as merging into the body and becoming the same person. That's the ultimate, in their mind, it's the ultimate intimacy. But this is really intimate, that you want to do what Krishna wants to do. It's like when you go to Krishna, Loka, you don't make up the games. You play the games that Krishna wants to play. You don't make up your own games. Although I think probably you can, because Krishna may tell you to make up a game. But anyway, the idea is we play it with Krishna's game. We play in Krishna's games. That's oneness. I also heard Gopi Pranadana Prabhu say kind of like a wonderful phrase which describes this. He says, what we do is to merge into the oneness of the spiritual variety of Goloka. We merge into the oneness of the spiritual variety of Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Doyle Nitai says, thank you, Srila Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
And Braj Balaba?
Hare Krishna, Braj.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just want to express my gratitude for these readings. I'm learning so much.
Well, all I can say about that is the pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much, everyone. And based on this last verse of the chapter we just read, I think I owe you a congratulations, and I'm going to read it once more. Whoever hears this description of the process of practical devotional service very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same place, the Haven. Same topic. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.